taste various sparkling wines from Italy, from local grapes, and also from international grapes, but always with an Italian style and character. Let us start from the Marche region, and we are going to taste a sparkling wine made mainly with Verdicchio grapes, 70% Verdicchio. This is a very young wine called Pestifero. And Giulia will talk about it. She comes from the company. This is a Verdicchio wine with that can be turned upside down, showing different modes. This name is Pestiferos because of its change and seeing the world upside down. And also in your glass, I would like you to feel and taste it various times because it changes a lot. We are in the Marche, which is the area of election of Verdicchio. And we would like to ask Giulia to talk about the company, the winery Tenote Tavignano, the area, and this wine. Good morning, everyone. I am Giulia, sales manager of Tenote di Tavignano. We are in Cingoli, near Macerata in the Marche, 15 minutes from Jesi, in the heart of the DCO Castelli di Jesi. This is the typical area for Verdicchio. Quality Verdicchio grapes, we are in the hills around 300 meters of altitude above sea level and in between the sea and the Apennines mountains. So we have this sea breeze coming from the Adriatic Sea and from the Apennines. The company was bought in the 1970s by the Heinrich Locangeli family, and it is now managed by the granddaughter of engineer Heinrich. Ondine comes from the world of design and fashion. She joined the company, the winery, in 2014. So she thought we would introduce a specific line of products for young consumers and also those who want to try something innovative and something different. So for the past 7 years, we have this I Love Monsters line with 3 characters, 3 wines, each one of them with their features, having names representing their personality, their mode. Generally speaking, they're not afraid of presenting themselves as they are with imperfections. For example, Pestifero is a turbid wine. So it has been served, it's cloudy, it has been served with the residues that cause this turbidity because it was turned upside down before serving it. And this is its own feature. This is 70% Verdicchio, 15% Sangiovese, and 15% Malvasia. Every grape brings its own features to the blend. Malvasia is aromatic, Sangiovese is acid, Verdicchio has perfumes and structure, and this is an ancestral method. So we bottle before the fermentation is over so that it continues in the bottle until it reaches a pressure of 2 bar in the bottle. So the bubble is very delicate. This is a sparkling wine, it's not a spumante. It's fruity and pleasant. It was called pestifero, because it goes out of the line, it goes against the rules, and it presents itself spontaneously and honestly, just as it is. Thank you very much, Giulia, for your presentation. My invitation is now to take the glass And first of all, note this very light color, which is slightly murky and cloudy with green reflexes tending to yellow straw. So we don't really have a perlage, we have a few bubbles because this is a sparkling wine, not a spumante. We have crisp fruits, pear, apple, and some herbal notes. Let us taste it, and you will feel that the presence of residues will change the textures versus an ordinary sparkling wine. We feel this very light bubble, very delicate, with a creaminess that is left on the palate. And my invitation is to go back to the glass and taste it again a few times so that you can see all the different shades of the wine. A very young wine, very dynamic. And it is perfect for an aperitif, Julia, to drink it on its own, maybe with some snacks or some fried antipasti, the famous olive ascolane, so the stuffed olives. These are olives that are stuffed with meat and then breaded and fried. So thank you very much for your suggestion. Now we can go to the second wine. The producer is not present, so I will talk about the winery and where it is located. We are south of Garda in the municipality of Pozzolengo. Pozzolengo is not directly on Garda Lake. They produce mainly local grapes, local wines, for example, Lugano. But here there is a specific story behind this sparkling wine that you're going to taste. This is a traditional method from Chardonnay grapes. So it follows the Blanc de Blanc style, and it's Padosé. Despite being Padosé, it's very well balanced, very delicate. You will not feel the roughness, the rustic character of a Padosé. It's round and well balanced. 100% Chardonnay grapes, and it has an interesting story behind it because it's a wine that is out of context. So very close we have Franciacorta. So I spoke with Gilberto, in charge of the Cobue winery, and I asked him why this wine in this place, in this winery. Well, his grandfather was a lover of champagne, and since he was a wine producer, a winemaker, he had planted in his vineyards a few hectares of Chardonnay to experiment and make his own champagne. So homemade champagne, and starting from this passion in 1991, this wine was made for the first time, which was followed by other vintages, and now it's a production wine and it's part of the range of the winery. This remains 36 months surely, with another 6 months in the bottle. And dégorgement was May 2021. The vintage is 2017. You see from the color that is golden color, is bright. Perlage is fine. It has just been served to me, so we still see many bubbles. The nose. Well, on the nose you feel Chardonnay, white flowers, citrus, some yellow fruits, and a slightly secondary note. We feel some sweet notes of vanilla, of cookie, of pastry.
Andiamo anche ad assaggiarlo.
Let us taste it.
Sentite in bocca?
On the palate, despite its freshness, you can feel acidity
Spicca nonostante
that
questa
stands
qualità.
out
Resti rimessi alle spade
despite its being a
freschissimo,
a few months on the lease on Sur-Lié. So the dégorgement was a few months ago, but we feel it's round, it's full-bodied. Gilberto was telling us that this product, despite its quality, since they do not belong to a specific area which is specific for this wine costs 16 to 20 euros. If you consider that it spent 36 months Sur-Lié, well, the price-quality ratio is incredible. So, but they make it for passion. Gilberto is the third generation. This winery was established more than 50 years ago, was Gilberto, his father and his grandfather. So they want to bring it on and honor the passion of his grandfather. And this is a wine that does not belong to any DCO. So on the label, you will find VSQ, which is Sparkling Quality Wine. And it is actually a very interesting product that they presented to us. It reminds us of the nose of champagne. Probably you would not say that this is Pas d'Oser. It starts as a brut, because it draws inspiration from the great white wines from Champagne. But then over time, they decided to change and move from Brut to Pas d'Oser. So, but it's still very full-bodied, round, and with a good aging potential. I would say 10 years or even more. Yes, I talked about it yesterday, about this wine with the producer. And Gilberto was telling me that he's now drinking 2007 vintage and still very young, very fresh. Well, it's quite difficult to find old vintages because they make very few bottles and they sell them all immediately. So this is an excellent product from this winery, Coboe. In the room here in Milan, they appreciate it. I do not know about London, but it's a very specific, very interesting product. If you want contacts, well, unfortunately, Gilberto had a problem, so he couldn't be here present. But if you want contacts, you can get in touch with me. Any questions from the audience? Any comments on this wine? Excellent. Let us now continue. Now we have a different area, a different winery. We are talking about the Canova winery. And we are in Emilia-Romagna, on the hills near Parma, so south of the Po Plain. This winery has 8 hectares. Average altitude is 300 meters above sea level. The name Canova, or Costa Mediana, comes from the position, the location of the winery. It is located on a hill, which is in the middle of 2 water reservoirs. So this is an area that is historically known for wine production, and it was called Tabernorium in Latin, because there were very many taverns there, giving the opportunity to buy some drinks. Tommaso, the current manager of the company, He's very young, but he is very passionate, and they are on the old Francigena road, the Roman road leading to France. And all pilgrims would stop here. So it's an area where wine has always been produced. They mainly produce local wines. The first wine you're going to taste is Ortrugo, so one of the local grapes of the area, and they also make Lambrusco, Barbera, Bonarda, and a very small percentage of international grapes.
fiore all'occhiello che è la Malvasia di
And then
Candia.
they make Malvasia di Candia,
Autoctone.
which is a very, very special wine, local grape.
Dell'Oberto.
But let's talk about Oberto, which is the wine you are tasting.
È il 90%
This is
Ortrugo
90%
e
Ortrugo,
viene blendato, viene appunto tagliato
and the
con
blend is
10%
made
di
with
Chardonnay
10%
per
Chardonnay
l'acidità,
to give more
la
acidity,
struttura
more
del
structure,
corpo.
more
È
body.
un metodo Martinotti
This is a
che viene
Martinotti
fermentato in
method,
autoclave con mosto di Marsanne.
fermented in autoclave with Marsanne must. Marsanne is a grape that they grow there, so it's re-fermented with this must because it's a very sugary grape which gives a nice push to this beautiful Martinotti method. So the objective was to achieve some balance between the local grape, which is present on the nose mainly and gives us a beautiful nose, and the flavors of the local grape, which is connected to the area, with the addition of an international grape like Chardonnay, which is very, very special and apt and perfect for sparkling wines.
Quindi andiamo ad assaggiare l'Oberto.
So let's taste Oberto.
Abbiamo un colore paglierino.
We have a straw yellow, intense straw yellow color.
Naso molto fresco.
The nose is very fresh, very flowery.
Anche qui sentori agrumati.
Again, citrus.
Andiamo anche ad assaggiare.
Let's taste it now.
Spicca sicuramente una grande acidità.
A lot of acidity. That's the main feature. But on the palate, you feel citrus notes of lemon.
È un vino
This
che
wine,
mi dicevano perfettamente abbinabile
they told me,
al
can be paired very well with the dishes of Modena, all the fresh pasta, tortellini, ravioli, agnolotti, and all those typical dishes of the Modena area, but also the typical Italian antipasti, the local antipasti, with ham or cold meats, which are rather fat, because it's acid and has this citrus note, so it pairs very well
i sapori locali,
with
ma anche
local
possiamo
flavors.
tranquillamente
But we can
usare
easily use it as an aperitif wine,
starter
as a
anche lì
starter.
loro lo consigliavano con
And their recommendation is also with
gamberi,
shrimps,
ha questa sorta
scampi.
di dolcezza anche a naso che si
So because it's quite sweet on the nose, that it pairs very well with
Ci sono domande
shrimps
su questo?
and scampi. Any questions on that? What is the name of the grape? Ortrugo. And Marsanne must is added for the fermentation in autoclave. So they use it only for its properties. It doesn't really mark the wine, but is used for the re-fermentation. Thank you. So we have it, Costa Mediana Oberto. Any questions about this wine? While you taste it, and even our friends from London, if they want to ask questions. We see you now.
conversazione con noi, li
We
salutiamo.
would like to say hello to
Stiamo
you. I
apprezzando
hope you
appunto
are
questi vini
appreciating
frizzanti
these
della
Italian
zona.
sparkling wines.
Ah, ok, era un saluto.
So you're just
Ciao.
saying hello. So hello.
Li salutiamo anche proprio fisicamente. Ok, quindi se voi
Excellent.
avete altre domande, commenti su questi
Any
vini,
questions or comments on these
vi sto
wines?
facendo fare un po' di
That is
aperitivo.
fine. I'm just
Prima
giving you some
di andare a
aperitif
casa,
before you go
tutti
to
i
lunch.
vini dal Verdicchio
All
al
those wines
Lambrusco
from
stanno per
Verdicchio to
ricevere
Oltrogua and Chardonnay
il
are
loro
really perfect for
aperitivo,
this
quindi
moment of the day for an aperitif.
andiamo avanti con l'ultimo vino.
And now the last wine.
Giusto una nota sul vino precedente perché forse
Just
non l'avevo detto,
one thing about the
il vino
previous
zero,
wine,
quindi quello
the
di Cobue,
the
perché
Padosé
appunto può
from
essere
Cobue.
comunque così
So it
costoso,
is
o
perfect
anche
as an
serve
aperitif,
tutto
but it
quanto.
has a nice
Una delle
body,
cose
so
che
it can be
appunto mi diceva
paired with the
Gilberto,
entire lunch.
citando Hemingway, se non
And
sbaglio, diceva
Gilberto mentioning,
usiamo
quoting
direttamente lo
Hemingway,
champagne, in questo caso il suo
he
champagne,
said, let's
intendendo
use
direttamente
directly
il nome
champagne
originale.
so we don't
Questo
change
è
the
il
wine
caso
with every dish.
appunto di questo vino che
And this is
può
the case of
corrispondere
this wine
all'appunto
that can
fino
pair very
effettivamente
well
per le
everything with
carte
everything from
dove non
aperitif
serve
to white meat
tanto
where we do not need tannins.
quindi era giusto una nota perché poi
This was just a
stavamo
small
parlando di
side note
aperitivi
because we are talking about aperitif.
brevemente. Passiamo all'ultimo
And now
vino
the
che è
last
sempre
wine,
della cantina Canova,
again from the
quindi
Canova winery.
torniamo sul vitigno autoctono
Let
della
us
zona
go back on
emiliana che è
a
il
local
Lambrusco.
grape
Questa
of
è la
Emilia,
prima
which is
annata di
Lambrusco. This is the
questo
first
vino
vintage of
frizzante.
this wine. This is a sparkling
Diciamo che
wine
ha tre tipologie di
with
varietà di
three
Lambrusco
different
che sono
varieties of
il
the
Lambrusco
Lambrusco grape.
Salamino,
We have the
il
Lambrusco
Sorbara
Salamino
e il
from
Ancellota,
Sorbara and
che sono
Ancelotta.
tagliati in parti diverse, però tutti appunto
So we have different
dal
varieties
Lambrusco
of
che è
Lambrusco.
all'85%.
Lambrusco is
Nella
85% of this
versione
wine.
2015 troviamo
The remaining
Barbera e Bonarda,
15% is
che
Barbera
hanno
and Bonarda.
maltinotti che
Maltinotti
sono 2
method,
atmosfere e mezzo, quindi
2.5
belli
bars.
frizzanti.
So it's in the range of
E
sparkling wines.
hanno appunto iniziato a produrre
And
questo
they have
Lambrusco proprio per
begun
avere una
producing this
referenza
Lambrusco
nella
in order to have a
classificazione,
product
perché comunque il
that can
Lambrusco
speak
è
the
un
voice of the
sinonimo
local
di
area.
Emilia-Romagna,
Lambrusco
quindi
is a synonym of
avere
Emilia-Romagna.
comunque
It's
un
very
Lambrusco
popular
in
there.
catalogo per
So
la sua
having
qualità è
Lambrusco
qualcosa
in
che
the range
negli anni si è
was
andato appunto a
mandatory for
celebrare.
them. For
La
years,
Malvasia sulla
they
Malvasia di
have
Candia, che comunque
they have been
questo
making
grape
Malvasia di Candia. They make a sparkling and still wine, rather sweet wine.
non possiamo non avere
So
il
they focused on
Lambrusco.
Malvasia, but then they said
Assolutamente
we
deve essere
must have
Tommaso
Lambrusco
che
as
ogni
well.
pranzo
It's
comunque
necessary. And
guida la
Tommaso
colazione riporta
is really
molto
passionate
ed inizia la
about
produzione
the
di questo
winery,
Lambrusco
the
con
family, and the local area. And he
l'ennesimo
began the
acquisto
production of this
di
Lambrusco together with the winemaker
Confagricoltura
Manuela.
come si vede poi in
And
una di
she
queste
really
ricette
cares about
di
these
dare
grapes and always
così
tries to
un
make
taglio che sia molto equilibrato per dare
balanced
limiti
wines
sul tabella,
so that
quindi
these wines are
siamo
easy to
su
drink.
1 o 2 anni
1
di
to
invecchiamento
years
inizia
aging
ad
maximum.
apprezzare quelle
These
determinate
wines must be appreciated for their
caratteristiche
primary
che
notes,
hanno
for their
appunto
grapes,
i
and
frutti.
they must, and they are,
Quindi
they should
vino
be,
frizzante,
they
andiamo
drink
a
in 1 or 2
servire
years. So sparkling wine, let's fill it.
particolarmente, no? Rispetto ai
Now we
classici
totally
vini
change versus the
che
previous
vanno
glasses.
appunto sul rosso
This is a
più,
red wine,
più frizzante, leggero, sono
sparkling
sotto
light.
piccola frutta
We
rossa,
have notes
ciliegira,
of red berries,
fragola,
cherry,
anche una nota
strawberry,
leggermente carnosa,
but
tipo
also
di
a
bacon.
meaty note, a beefy note like bacon.
Andiamo anche ad assaggiare la bollicina, si nota appena
The
alla vista perché comunque
bubble
essendo
is
una
very,
nota
very small. You
frizzante
can hardly see,
non è appunto immediatamente visibile, ma vi farò vedere che comunque in bocca
but you
sarà
will
qualcosa che
see
può
that on the
essere
palate it will be
sicuramente.
very pleasant and you will feel it.
È comunque secco,
It is a
anche se
dry
dà questa
wine,
impressione molto
though the
fruttata.
first impression is that it's a very
Come
fruity
dicevo la
wine.
bollicina
the bubble accompanies those fruity flavors, those fruity notes on the palate.
E questo mi dicevano che è un perfetto
And I
accompagnamento
was
mangiato.
told that this is perfect with
Quindi
Parmesan
stare in
cheese
nature è
at various degrees of
accompagnamento
maturity, of
perfetto
maturation.
per la coppa,
It's perfect
per
for
festa, per qualsiasi
coppa
tipo di cosa,
and
si
for
riscopre
all
appunto
the
dalla salsa
cold
e
meats of
appunto
Modena, the
con lo
hams,
gnocco fritto
all with
o
a special local dish which is called the gnocco fritto, which is basically bread dough which is
stavo
fried
pensando che si
and with
fosse
some
arrabbiare,
parmesan.
però è perfettamente
But it's
abbinato,
perfect.
diciamo così.
It pairs perfectly with that.
Lo traduciamo così. Quindi vini freschi,
So
giovani,
fresh
quindi con la
wines,
pepa
young
immediatamente
wines, easy
equilibrati,
to drink,
carichi,
immediately
diciamo che
balanced.
alla fine servono
The
giustamente
blends
a
in the
dare questa
cellar
prontezza,
are
questa
to give
freschezza
this
e
freshness,
a
this
farceli godere subito. Sono vini
pleasure.
freschi,
So these are
dolcissimi,
very
però
enjoyable
non mi
wines, and
ricordano
as Tommaso
tantissimo
was
gli italiani, quindi è
uh,
molto sincero,
saying to us,
delicato
they
e
really mirror what Emilians, the people from Emilia, are like because they're immediate, direct, and enjoyable and friendly.
ovviamente non
Also,
potuti essere presenti oggi per
unfortunately, the producers of Carnova cannot be here today, but if you have any questions or if you want contacts, you can
spero
ask
che
me.
comunque abbiate apprezzato questa mini
I hope that you
panoramica
enjoyed
su
this
qualche
very small overview of
autori di
local
colore
grapes
per
and
insomma
special
presentarvi
areas for sparkling
l'Italia.
wines, for local sparkling wines from Italy.
Una domanda?
We have a question. We have a question from London on the third wine. What blend is used for this wine? And is
Allora,
it used in other parts of Italy? Or how is this grape used
io
in other
personalmente
types of wines?
sono nella
So
zona
this is
di
a
Oltrugo,
local
che è nella
grape
zona
of that
appunto
area. Oltrugo comes from
dell'Abruzzo.
Emilia
È
and their
90%
area. This
Oltrugo,
is 90%
10%
Oltrugo,
Chardonnay
10%
e
Chardonnay,
il Marsanne
and
viene
Marsanne
utilizzato come
is
mosto
used
per
only
la
as
fermentazione
must
alimentare grazie
for
alla sua
refermentation in autoclave because it is very sugary.
dolce. Viene utilizzato prevalentemente in questa zona.
Oltrugo is mainly used
Anche
in
perché
this
sì,
area,
deve
also for
essere,
still
deve
wines,
essere appunto
but it's
sfumato.
perfect to make a sparkling wine.
Grazie per questa
And thank you
domanda.
very much for your question.
Sono anche commenti
Any
potete
more
fare,
questions or
commenti,
comments as
scrivetelo
well?
sicuramente ai produttori
Because
se
I will
avete
speak with the
apprezzato
producers and I will tell
gli
them if you
ospiti ospiti
appreciated
in questo momento.
their wines
Mi
or
fa
not.
piacere anche sapere se poi
So I
anche
would like to
a
know
Londra si
whether in
apprezza il
London you
Sicilianame.
appreciated
Non so
these
se
special wines, whether
conoscevano
you like
questo,
them. Do you
se
know
magari
them? Did you
visitate
know them?
questo
Did you know those grapes?
sito.
Maybe
A
Lambrusco?
Londra c'è, visto che qui
In
siamo nelle zone
London, I guess there's a lot of Lambrusco.
di Londra, quindi comunque se erano conosciuti. Forse l'Oltrugo un po' meno,
Maybe Oltrugo
vini un
is
po' più
not
rari,
well
essendo
known
localizzati
abroad.
nella
It is
zona.
a rare grape.
Non è molto conosciuto, sì, perché solitamente il prosecco
Well, usually
non è
abroad people
molto
know Prosecco, Trento DOC, not so much.
ok, più conosciuto.
Lambrusco is
Ok,
more well
quindi
known.
si è sentito? Ok, ripeto quello che è stato detto. Mi dicevano appunto dalla
A
sala
person
che
from the audience
il
was
Lambrusco
saying that
probabilmente a Londra
Lambrusco
è già un
probably in
pochettino più
London
conosciuto,
is
ma al di
more
fuori
well
del
known, but
prosecco,
apart from
le conosce
Prosecco,
italiane
Italian
non solo
sparkling wines are
della zona, quindi
from local
sono
grapes
conosciute,
are
quindi
not very well known
sono
and really
conosciute.
popular.
Infatti il nostro obiettivo è
Our
proprio quello
objective,
di
our
far
idea
conoscere
is
delle
to
realtà che comunque
show
tengono, perché
wineries and
in
wines
Italia si
that
spumatizzano un
are
sacco di vini autoctoni.
worth
Abbiamo per
drinking.
esempio
In Italy, we have very many
Trieste,
local grapes that are used for
Chieti,
sparkling wines. We
ma
have some examples here.
si riesce a spumatizzare di
but we make sparkling wines from various local grapes, some with the Martinotti method and some with the Charmat method and the traditional method. I come from Campania. There are very many Falanghina as sparkling wine, which is another local grape from Campania. So I'm very glad that you appreciated them. So from London, we have a feedback about Lambrusco. Lambrusco is very well known in London, and this one is pleasant with well-managed tannins and very fresh. Oh, thank you very much for your feedback, for your content, because the person who made this feedback really understood the soul, the spirit of this wine, the fact of having limited tannins, of being very pleasant, enjoyable. It appears sweet, but it's dry, but the aromas on the palate tend to some sweetness, some delicate fruit like cherries, strawberries, that give you this impression. So I'm very happy that we managed to convey this message, that you really got it, because this is really the objective of the producer. And this is the first vintage of this wine. So it's really surprising because they immediately managed to get the spirit of their area, of their land. Are we finished? Any more questions or comments? No. So I'm really, really happy of your appreciation and your comments. I gave you some aperitif, and now you can go for lunch. Thank you very much, and see you next time. And I would like to thank you and to thank our guests from London. And I would like to thank Milano Wine Week and Confagricoltura. Bye-bye.